Chase at the 40. Look at that move. Look at Chase go. Oh, my goodness. What a gear.
He comes down to this in his car end zone. Intercepted.
McPherson. And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl.
Toss here. Nixon's going to throw. Open man. Caught. Higgins. Touchdown.
Drives. Touchdown. Joe Burrow has his first rushing touchdown of the season.
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, possibly the biggest game for the entire NFL, for the entire season. This Monday night in the jungle, the Buffalo Bills come in, ranked the second seed in the AFC, with us right behind them at the third seed. Mon, I cannot wait to be up there and be in that crowd. It is going to be electric Monday night, and I can't wait to talk about it with you today. What do you think, Mon?
Yeah, I'll go out and say it. I think it is the biggest game of the year. The Bills are on a 6-game win streak. The Bengals are on a 7-game win streak. The schedule makers have to be happy. ESPN, ABC has to be happy.
Oh, yeah.
They hit a home run on this one. It's going to be a great, exciting game. I'm honestly, I got a lot of nervousness about it. I mean, I feel positive about the game, but I just want it to be here. I wish it was Monday already, and I'm looking forward to talking about it right now.
And how big is this for Monday Night Football? This is an incredible stat that I saw today on Twitter. I think Jay Morrison tweeted this out, I believe, but and I know our guys Ace and Zim did as well. But Monday night's game is tied for the most wins combined by the two teams. For a Monday Night Football game, it is tied for second in Monday Night Football history for the most combined wins by two teams, tied with Denver and San Francisco back in 1997. Like you said, man, this is a home run, and quite possibly it is going to be a preview of the AFC Championship game. No two teams are hotter right now in the AFC than the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills. And again, interesting that this will be Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen, part one. Already Joe Burrow being 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen is the next one in line. And it's time for Joe to show everyone who is the best quarterback in the NFL.
I agree with you. Listen, I am so grateful that this game is in Cincinnati.
Oh, me too.
Back in May, when the schedule came out, we broke down each game, and I honestly, back then I made the call, and I just don't see the Bengals losing this game, because this city is going to be so electric. I'm so jealous you're going to be there, and I'm not. But it's going to be electric in that stadium. I mean, the city's abuzz. We live in Florida, but I still follow the local news in Cincinnati on streaming, and that's all they're talking about on the news. And it's going to be special. You've seen all the tailgates, Bengal Gym, all the others. It's going to be a just unbelievable atmosphere. And I think that's going to, the Bengals are going to be ready regardless. But feeling the energy from the fans are going to be loud. Trust me, these guys are going to be given their all, because it's basically playoff atmosphere. This is a playoff game.
Well, it's a playoff game, right?
It is, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's going to have that feel to it. And buddy, it's going to be a classic. It really is. I cannot wait till Monday night.
And it's exciting too, Mon, because usually in the past, you and I are dreading these type of games, right? Prime time, Monday Night Football, a lot on the line. We are dreading, but not anymore. Not anymore. Thanks to Joe Burrow. I mean, this guy, he doesn't care. He doesn't care of the situation. He doesn't care who he's playing. He doesn't care when it is. This guy, man, that's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the MVP, because he is that damn good and does not care about what anyone else thinks or like I said, this situation or anything. By the way, Mom, we didn't mention this, but the Bengals starting 0-2 are the first team to make the playoffs since 2018, starting 0-2. And again, remember, when all this was going on and we were all stressed after those first two games, Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor took that podium and said, don't worry about it. We're good. It's a process. And now the Bengals are 2 wins away and a Chiefs loss from being the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah, the first part of the season was tough. People that follow us, we were stressed. We showed it during the podcast. But listen, so hats off to Zach Taylor. He has done a phenomenal job. Just changing the culture in that locker room. You just said it. Primetime games petrified us years ago because the Bengals they weren't ready for prime time. That has changed. It's changed with the Zach and this coaching staff. They're ready for the limelight. They're ready for these big games. We've said it 4 episodes in a row. They're battle tested, and the big lights doesn't faze them. And let's hope they show up and kick some. On Monday night.
Well, real quick before we get started on the Buffalo Bills, I want to say first of all, congratulations to T. Higgins. Mon, listen to this stat that Jay Morrison tweeted out. T. Higgins is the 43rd player in the Super Bowl era, 43rd in the Super Bowl era, and the 4th Bengals receiver to post 2 1,000-yard receiving seasons in his first 3 years of his career. The other Bengal receivers, A.J. Green, Chad Johnson, Chris Collinsworth. And Jamar Chase only needs 40 yards to be number 44 and the 5th Bengal. That is an incredible stat when you think about A.J. Green, Chad Johnson, Chris Collinsworth, and now you're throwing 2 of our starting receivers into that mix because we all know, Jamar Chase is going to get 40. So Jamar Chase gets 40 yards. That's incredible, Mon. That is how good T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are. And we've said it before, it's the best receiving core in the NFL. They both are going to be Bengals for a long time. And again, just an impressive stat. So congratulations to T.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know where we would be without him. He's really he's come up big for us. Came up big last week. Honestly, that Patriot game, what the Bengal offense did in the first quarter of that game against a very good Patriot defense, it was ridiculous, and it was because of him. He's such a talent, and we are beyond blessed to have these guys. And it's a treat to watch them play every week. And teams would die to have just one of our receivers, and we have two of them, 3. You throw in Tyler really? Boyd. Honestly, they're elite, and Joe Burrow is the blessed one to have all that talent.
No doubt. But as we've seen, and I've said it before, is Joe Burrow makes everyone else around him better. You know what I mean? So I think it's a combination of everything. Obviously, we see the talent that those 3 receivers have, but think about the emergence now of Trenton Irwin. You know what I mean? Mitchell Wilcox, a guy that we never would have thought would be out here as a starting tight end making plays for us. Joe Burrow just makes everyone around him better. And let me throw out this last stat, Mom. Since the Bengals started 2-3, okay, Joe Burrow, these are his stats since the Bengals started 2-3. The Bengals have gone 9-1. Joe Burrow has thrown for 2,944 yards, which is 2nd in the NFL. 25 TD passage, which is 1st in the NFL. A 71.0 completion percentage, which is 2nd in the NFL. And a 108.7 passer rating, which is also 2nd in the NFL, Mon. Just an incredible stretch of games for Joe Burrow and this Bengals offense. And I'm going to be honest with you, Mon. I think it continues on Monday night. The Bills defense is beatable. And this Bengals offense is primed to throw up a bunch more points and a bunch more yards.
Yeah, he's gonna have to. I mean, listen, he's impressive, MVP candidate. I think he could solidify the MVP with a solid game against the Bills and the Ravens coming up. Listen, I think Joe's going to have to. Joe T, Chase, Mixon, they're going to have to put up some points because I'm about to talk about the Bills' offense. They're pretty prolific and they're going to put up some points, and we just need to match them. And our defense is going to have to get a few key stops there. But we need Joe to be on his game Monday night in prime time, and I think he will be.
Well, let's get started. That's a great lead way in. Let's talk about this Buffalo Bills offense led by Josh Allen. What do you think, Mon?
Yeah. You know what? Listen, looking up some of these stats, it's pretty impressive. I'm going to go through some of the team stats right now. The Bills are fourth in the NFL in points scored. They're averaging 28 points a game, which is really, really impressive. They're second in total yards at 402 yards a game. Inside the red zone, hold on real quick here. Yeah, they're second in total offense at 402 yards. Okay, in the red zone, they've had 56 possessions inside the red zone. They've scored on 45 of them. That's about an 80% clip. 34 TDs, 11 field goals. 80%. The Bengals are at 82%. So, you know what? Listen, the Bengal defense is pretty solid there. If we get them in the red zone, if we can hold them to field goals, that's going to be huge. Obviously, when you think about the Buffalo Bills and their offense, you're going to think about one guy. Everybody talks about him. He's the media darling right now, Josh Allen. Listen, this guy is Cam Newton 2.0. He is huge. He's got a rocket arm. And it's not just passing. Looking at these stats, like I said, preparing for the show, I was stunned. I don't really follow the Bills that much. He has over 740 yards rushing this year. That's unbelievable. The one good thing about our defense, we do prepare for Lamar Jackson of the Ravens. We prepare for him. So, when it comes to rushing quarterbacks, I think Lou Anarumo can prepare for that. But he's a lot different from him. He's a lot bigger, and he has a cannon arm. And some of his passing stats right here, he has over 4,000 yards passing, 32 passing TDs, and 13 interceptions. His completion percentage is about 63%. That was the big knock on Josh Allen when he came out of college. He was in the 50% range when it comes to completion percentage. He's improved, as a pro, but compared to Burrow and some of the others, his percentage is a little lower. Rushing the ball is a key. Devin Singletary has 790 yards rushing. Josh Allen, like I said earlier, has over 740. They average well over 4.5, 6 yards per carry. So for the Bengals to succeed against this Bills offense, Reader to Powell, that defensive line has really got to do a good job of containing them and stopping that rush attack. Receiving, obviously, we know who their studs are. Stephon Diggs. He has over 100 receptions, 1,300 yards, 10 total TDs. You got Dawson Knox, the tight end, that has 46 receptions for 500 yards. Your guy, Gabe Davis, I think he's a UCF guy, is he not?
Yes, he is. He is a UCF guy.
Yeah, he's 45 receptions for almost 800 yards. Big play guy, big receiver. He's their T. Higgins. If I'm not mistaken, he's about 6'3", 6'4". So, obviously Josh Allen, he scrambles. He loves to get out of the pocket. He's got that cannon arm. Listen, he'll take some risks. He'll try to fit some balls in tight windows. It's going to be essential for our linebackers to contain him, our rush-ins, to keep him from running. I think the Bengals defense, that defensive line has to be ready for that because the Buffalo Bills are going to want to rush the ball and try to limit the possessions, keep Joe Burrow on the bench. DJ Reader has to have another big game because we're going to need him. We're going to need him big time. Listen, the Bengals are going to have to be ready because the Buffalo Bill offense is legit.
Oh, well, there's no doubt it is. I want to say this first. It's usually never a good thing when your quarterback's your leading rusher, right? In this case, Josh Allen is. And, Mon, you and I have talked about this off air many and many times. Guys like Josh Allen, they don't last long in this league, right? I mean, and he's another one. I mean, you see some of the shots he takes week after week after week. I think eventually that rush game, he's going to have to slow it down because he is not going to last long taking the beating that he takes every single week. You're right. He's a bigger guy. He runs the ball well, but he's not a fast guy. He's not a guy that, again, like you said, if we can contain him, he's not a guy like Lamar that can get outside the pocket and make big plays. Now, don't get me wrong. He can make big plays, but I think Lou will have a scheme for him, and we've seen it. We've seen it from Lou before when we played Patrick Mahomes, when we play Lamar Jackson, when we play those guys that are really good. They do a good job of getting outside the pocket and making plays happen. Lou Anarumo does a good job of spying those guys with athletic guys like Akeem Davis-Gaither and possibly a Dax Hill. I mean, some of these other guys that are good tacklers in open space. We've seen Lou use those guys before as kind of a spy on these athletic guys that can run.
You're right, Jake. Listen, with Lamar Jackson, he's 4'3", 4'2". Josh Allen isn't that fast, but Josh Allen, he's a tight end playing quarterback. He's so big. And I don't want this taken the wrong way. I want the Bengals to deliver good legal hits, because when Josh Allen does run, he's the one delivering the hits.
Yeah.
And, he's a little reckless, and you're dead on. Listen, this guy, MVP, like I said, he's the media darling. His style of play, he's going to have to win a Super Bowl in the next 4 or 5 years, because his body will not hold up. Look what happened to Cam Newton. Cam Newton was an MVP of football. Went to a Super Bowl, but his body kept on taking those shots. He had shoulder injuries, and he literally fell off a cliff. And Josh Allen is very similar to that. And like right now, listen, the guy's special. He's a good football player, but I would rather have Josh Allen sit back, and I don't want him to get 100 yards rushing. Let's make him throw the ball, because I don't think he's the most accurate guy in the NFL. I really don't. And I think the Bengals could get a couple interceptions off him. Listen, he's got a cannon arm. They're going to score some points. They are. Our offense is going to have to match him, but I think our defense is going to get a few key stops at key moments where we're going to pull away and win this game.
And back to your other point, too, you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts. I mean, Jalen Hurts is having an incredible year, but he's been banged up all year because the guy is trying to run the football 40% of the time, and you can't do that in the NFL. You cannot do that to these guys. They're going to take a beating, and Jalen Hurts is another one of those guys that he's not going to last long, man. There's just no way. You can't. Your body can't hold up, and Jalen Hurts isn't even as big of a guy as Josh Allen. But you're right, and the Bengals are going to have to score points, and I think they will. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills defense a little bit. Obviously, they have lost the big threat in Von Miller. He is out for the year, along with safety Micah Hyde as well, who, again, those are two guys that are key members of this Buffalo Bills defense that are out for the year. But this front seven is still pretty good. And Tremaine Evans and Matt Milano, those two guys are their leading tacklers, both of them with over 90 tackles from the linebacker positions. And those are guys that I know when I watch Buffalo Bills games, those are guys that really pop out on screen. Those are the guys that you notice because they're running sideline to sideline. They do really good. Matt Milano is really good. He does a really good job with run fits. I mean, he sees it. He sees ball and he goes, and he is a downhill player. And those are guys that we're going to have to be very, very observant of anywhere on the field. As I said before, their defensive backs, they're just not very good. Tre'Davious White obviously is a solid player, along with Jordan Poyer, but that Buffalo Bills defensive backfield they've taken a beating this year. And a couple of those defenders in the back end of this defense are guys that are going to struggle trying to cover this Bengals wide receiving core. And I feel like this is another game where we're going to want to establish the run, but this might be a game where Coach Taylor just hands the ball to Joe Burrow and says, do your thing, because the Buffalo Bills are going to score points. We're not going to be able to slow them down trying to run the football. And this front seven from the Bills is tough. I mean, Ed Oliver, Shaq Lawson, those guys on that defensive line are good football players and do a really good job against the run. So again, I think this is a game where it's really going to be a Joe Burrow, although they're not playing technically against each other on the field, but Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen. I think both of these coaches are going to give those guys the ball and say, hey, do your thing. Because really that's who's going to win this football game, I believe, is a team that has the ball that last possession. I think it's going to come down to that because these offenses are very explosive. And we know, too, the Bengals have really struggled these last couple of weeks running the football, Mom. And
Yes,
now with La'el Collins out for the year, they're gonna continue to struggle like they have these last couple of weeks. I hope not, because they are going to have to establish the run again eventually. But I think give Adeniji another game or two to establish that run game before we go into the playoffs. The Bengals are going to have to come out and throw the football on Monday night, Mom.
Yeah, Jake, it's a good point that you brought up about running the ball. Last night, I was watching a Bengal Gems podcast. He had Jeff Hobson on, and questions. He took a question from some of the fans, and one of them was about the struggling of the run game the last couple of weeks, and he brought up some pretty valid points. He says this 7-game win streak started with the rush attack revitalized. Remember Joe Mixon
Absolutely.
running for 140 and P. Ryan and so he thinks defenses are like, hey, if the Bengals are running the ball effectively, we don't have any chance at all. So they're really going all in to try to shut down the run attack, make us a little bit more one-dimensional. So, I mean, that's where Zach Taylor, Frank Pollock, the run game coordinator, they're going to have to try to find ways to get a few more yards a game, a few more first downs. I will say this about the Buffalo Bills. They're very balanced as a team. They're seventh in offense, seventh in passing, eighth in rushing. So, that's pretty, dramatic. The Bengals, for example, are 26th in rushing in the NFL and 5th in passing. I wish we could average a little bit more. We're averaging under 100 yards a game rushing. So, listen, I know Joe Burrow's elite. All these wide receivers, I don't expect the Bengals to be, just to run the ball 60 times a game or 60% of the time. But I would like a little more efficiency in the rush attack because I think that's going to help the Bengals. It might limit a couple possessions for Josh Allen. That would be huge.
Yeah.
Instead of them getting 5 possessions in the second half, let's give them 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get that rolling, and it's going to be really exciting to see. And I know I said it 3 times, Jake. I cannot wait for this football game. It is local Cincinnati, listening to ESPN 1530, all the Cincinnati radio stations. It's the biggest game in Paycor Paul Brown Stadium history. That's what they're saying.
Well,
So,
and
regular season game, regular season,
right? I would agree. I mean, I do. I believe that this is a game where the Cincinnati Bengals come out and win this football game. Not only does that momentum carry them further along, I believe, but I think it's all eyes. It's all eyes on the jungle. I mean, it's going to be all eyes on the jungle on Monday night. Everybody is going to be watching. These are 2 of the best offenses in the NFL, 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, 2 of the best teams in the NFL. And like you said, man, I'm just excited. I'm going to be there to watch it all. But it really is going to be – it's going to be a show. And I think both of these coaches understand that, Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, those guys are what these teams are built on. And, I think they're really just going to let them come out and do their thing. The one thing I want to say, too, about this Buffalo Bills defense is since Von Miller's been hurt, they have struggled getting to the quarterback. Von Miller still leads the team in sacks with 8 sacks, and he hasn't played in a very long time. The next guy up is A.J. Epineza, which I know you liked coming out of the draft. He has 6.5 sacks, but this Bills defense has really struggled getting to the quarterback. 39 total sacks coming from this Bills defense. So again, I look at this matchup, and with the Bills defensive backs not being very good and being beaten up on the back end, and the Bills not being able to get to the quarterback, the Bengals are going to come out and throw the football. and I can't see it any other way. I just think that it's going to be the Joe Burrow show on Monday night.
Jake, last week the New England Patriots had the sixth ranked defense in the NFL. I think the Bills are seventh. Uh, Listen, Cincinnati in that cold weather last week, I was stunned how easy it was, how they just marched up and down the field against the New England Patriots. The great equalizer in that game was the turnovers. The Bengals, if they're turnover free and they get a couple turnovers, they could win this game by 10, 14 points.
They
Right?
could.
The key
No,
is just, we just can't turn the ball over. We're going to score points. And listen, we got to give Josh Allen, that offense, some respect. They're number 2 in the NFL in total yards. Our defense has to come through, get a couple key stops, get a turnover. It's about time our special teams gets us that unconventional special teams touchdown. I would love to see Travion Williams or somebody just get us a special teams touchdown. That would be awesome on Monday Night Football. But listen, overall, I think the Bengals have the better talent. I think they're the better team. They play in the tougher conference. And I think all that is going to get this team a victory Monday night.
And we'll go over our picks here in a couple minutes, but I'm going to agree. I mean, again, I think Josh Allen is a hell of a football player, and I'm not going to try to disrespect him in any way possible. But Joe Burrow is better. Joe Burrow is the better quarterback, and I think that's what this game comes down to, and I think that's what all these type of games come down to. You look at that Chiefs Bills game last year, that game, to play winner plays Cincinnati, and it was the last guy with the football, and Josh Allen, for all the love that he gets, and a lot of it is he puts up big numbers, but the guy hasn't done anything yet. And what I mean by that is he hasn't won a big game yet. And Joe Burrow has, and I just lean towards that. I lean towards the fact that this Bengals team and Joe Burrow, they understand the importance of these games. And I do find it interesting too, listening to these players talk. Even after the game finished last week against New England, they were celebrating a little bit, but every single one of them said something about this football game. And I think this football game has been circled on their calendar for a while now. I'm talking about our Cincinnati Bengals players. I think this game has been circled for a while, and I think the Bengals understand the importance and how high of a level this game is going to be. This is a big night for the city of Cincinnati too. Not only a big night, but a big weekend, because again, all the media is going to be there. All eyes are going to be on this matchup. And, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. I just hope the rain stays away.
Jake, about 40 years ago, Ken Anderson came out with a book called The Art of Quarterbacking. And in that book, he had, cutouts of or diagrams of Joe Montana, Dan Fouts himself. And he was basically teaching how to be a quarterback. It was for high school, college kids. I have a copy of it. It's a collector's item for me. If that book was published today, Joe Burrow would be in that book. All right.
Oh, yeah.
He's a quarterback. I mean, high schoolers, college players, they're probably telling their kids, look at the footwork, look at this guy. Listen, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, those guys are unbelievable. They look great in the t-shirts. They got these cannon arms. They're like robotic. But when it comes to, the intangibles.
Cerebral. The cerebral,
yeah, exactly,
right?
Exactly.
The cerebral.
Yeah, absolutely. The intangibles there. And listen, Joe Burrow has that touch about him. He might not have the cannon arm. He doesn't have the arm of Josh Allen, but he has all the other things that Josh Allen wishes he had. All right. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I think Burrow just has that it factor. And it's not a knock on Josh Allen. He's a great competitor. This guy is a tight end playing quarterback. He'll run over people. He's physical. I read the stats on rushing yards. That's unbelievable. I was stunned. I had no idea. This guy's going to have 1,000 yards rushing this year. It's unbelievable. He could. He's a special talent, but you know what? Joe Burrow is a quarterback. He's a quarterback, and if you're young and you want to become a quarterback in the NFL, you watch Joe Burrow.
Agreed. Well, let's talk about injury reports. Right now, we haven't seen any yet. Again, we are filming this a little bit early, so we haven't seen any injury reports yet. However, you did say while we were off air that Sam Hubbard today was seen without the boot, which is a very good sign. I'm not saying Sam Hubbard is playing, but what a great sign for the Cincinnati Bengals if for somehow, some way, Sam Hubbard is able to play in this football game. Obviously, losing Leo Collins, we haven't talked about it yet, Mom. We actually, our last show that we filmed that before the news came out about Leo Collins. Heartbreaking. Again, he's been one of the leaders on this offensive line. This offensive line has been very lucky and has stayed healthy throughout the year. But it's time for Adeniji to step up. The guy's played in big games. He played in the Super Bowl. He played in the playoffs last year. This guy needs to step up and play big for us. And again, I'm just throwing this out into the universe. I don't think it's going to happen, but man, if Andrew Whitworth is listening to the Bengals Pulse, Andrew, please, if they reach out to you, please come be a Bengal and finish this thing off the right way. How awesome would that be, Mom? What a great story. But again, injury report wise, it looks like Hayden Hurst is coming back too. So it looks like for the most part, the Bengals are healthy and are going to have their full arsenal. And again, I'm not sure about Sam Hubbard yet, but it looks like besides Sam Hubbard and obviously knowing that Leo Collins is out for the year, it looks like the Bengals are fairly healthy for this football game, Mom.
Yeah, they are. It would be great to get Hayden Hurst back. I think he could have played last week, but they held him out another week. To touch on the Hubbard thing, that would be electric if he could come in because he's such a important part. He plays a key part when we play like the Ravens, for example. He's a great rush defender, and he would do a great job of containing of Josh Allen. Yeah, you know what? The Bengals are trending in the right direction. The Collins situation really stinks. But I think Adeniji, I think the Bengals messed up playing him at guard. The guy he was a tackle his whole career in college. So, we'll see. I think, the run game could suffer a little bit because Collins was just a road grader. But I believe in Adeniji, and be interesting to see who they bring up. If they bring up Prince or if they're trying to sign somebody from somebody else's practice squad, I don't know. But yeah, we are getting healthy, and it's going to be good because we got the playoffs coming up. We got a Super Bowl too.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Well, let's get to our picks real quick here. Some interesting games. First of all, you and I talked about it. Shame on the Las Vegas Raiders for benching Derek Carr because we need Derek Carr next week when they play the Chiefs. I mean, what in the world? Come on, Raiders. Just Raiders doing Raider things, I guess. All right. So this week, Mon, we got Cleveland at Washington. Again, we're getting toward the end of the year here where Cleveland and Pittsburgh really don't, it really doesn't matter what they do anymore. But let's go ahead and pick it anyways, Mon. Cleveland at Washington. Who you got?
I got Washington winning this game. I think Cleveland's checked out. They're done. And, you know what? I'm never going to pump them up ever again. You win, Jake. You win on that one.
Yes. Victory. Victory is mine.
I got Washington.
I feel so good.
I got Washington 21-10 over the Browns.
Yes. All right, 21-10. You heard that, listeners. Victory. All right. I'm with you though. I mean, Cleveland has checked out. They really have checked out, and I think even though Washington is benching their quarterback, who I like, who I think has played pretty well. I think Washington wins this game. It's in Washington. I'm going to say Washington 28, Cleveland 10 for that game. We have Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Mon, a huge game because if Pittsburgh wins this football game, Mon, and when we win on Monday night, not only will we be celebrating beating the Bills, but we will be celebrating the AFC North. Does Pittsburgh have a chance in this game? This is twice I've had to root for the Squealers this year, and it makes me want to vomit in my mouth. But come on, Pittsburgh. Come on. Just Just win one more game this year, Mon. Who you got? Pittsburgh, Baltimore.
Jake, I'm going to tick off a lot of Bengal fans here. I want to tell you something right now. Mike Tomlin is a good football coach. He really is. I can't stand that team. I can't stand him. I don't like the Steelers, but he finds a way to make them competitive. He really does. I mean, they haven't. Listen, I don't know how they do it. I mean, they don't have a lot of talent on offense, but they're just tough. They will beat the Ravens this week. They're going to beat them. Wow. I'm telling you right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers will beat the Baltimore Ravens this week. It's going to be 17-13 Pittsburgh over Baltimore.
I'm going to pick the Squealers just because I got to throw this out into the universe. And Baltimore, again, we've talked about it. Baltimore, they are not very good. They're just not good. I promise you. And how funny is it that the Bengals are the ones that got Baltimore into the playoffs? So you're welcome, Ravens fans. We got you into the playoffs by beating the Patriots last week. But this Ravens team, I promise you, everybody in the AFC is licking their chops to play them in the playoffs. Everybody. If you could ask the other 6 teams who they want to play, it is the Baltimore Ravens, because they are not very good. They are terrible. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Squealers are going to go in and beat the Ratbirds in a game that I'm going to have to watch, but I'll probably have a trash can next to me just so I can throw up into something while I'm watching it. I'm going to say Squealers beat the Ratbirds 21-17. Come on, Squealers. Give us a victory. Mom, before we pick the Bengals, though, this leads us into our fan question, our listener question. If you'll go ahead and read it. Thank you guys, too, for sending the questions. Keep sending the questions. We want to do this every week. Mon, go ahead. Read the question.
Yeah, give me 1 second. This is from our buddy, Nicholas Mercier. Good question here.
All right, Nick, what do you got for me?
If you could steal any player from another AFC North team, who would it be? He picked. He has his pick.
Okay,
I'll
what's
share.
his pick?
He picked Myles Garrett. Jake, who would you pick?
Ooh, man, this is a really tough question, Nick. Because I hate these 3 teams and everyone on them. But I'm gonna have to say Myles Garrett too. I hate to. Oh God, I can't believe I'm picking a Cleveland Brown. I'm gonna have to say Myles Garrett though. Myles Garrett to me is the best player from those 3 teams. I look at the Ravens team again. There's not one Raven that I would choose. They're just not a very good roster. They're not a very good team. I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and Watt sitting there, and that Watt-Garrett thing, it's tough, right? It would be a tough choice, but I look at Myles Garrett, and I see a guy that he's been very solid when it comes to playing every weekend, week out. Watt's had some injuries. Oh, God. I can't believe it's down to a Brown and a Squealer. I'm going to say Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is my answer. Nick, you've put me in a very tough position picking this. I'm going to say Myles Garrett, though, because I think he is the best player when it comes to those 3 football teams. What do you think?
You know, when I saw the question, I was just trying to analyze the weaknesses on the Bengals roster. I was looking at cornerback, offensive tackle. You know what? Then every time I did that, it just went back to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is a defensive end. He is a generational player. The guy is phenomenal. He is – listen, man, I know he plays for the Browns. We did beat them this year, but, you know, before that, they've owned us, and a lot of it had to do with him. He just literally took over the game, made some key plays that we just couldn't overcome. Myles Garrett, if he was a Bengal, wow, he's something else, and that's my pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go. It's just tough. It's tough, right? Because, you know, if you're talking about Bengal weaknesses right now, you would have to look at, and again, I love our corners, but you would have to look there, right? If we're talking about stealing a player right now for this playoff run, it would have to be right tackle or corner, right? Mm-hmm. But I just think Myles Garrett is such a difference maker. that he changes the whole aspect of a football game. And can you imagine a team with Myles Garrett and Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard? I mean, good Lord, that is just nasty. I mean, you'd have to find a way to get all three of those guys on the field at the same time. Great question, Nick. Although tough, you made it tough on me tonight, Nick.
Yeah, that was a really tough one. Hey, real quick,
Yeah.
Jake, I stumbled across this on Twitter real quick. Some interesting stats. I'm sorry, I have to share it. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Josh Allen. Okay, remember they had a really really big game this year against the Chiefs. They beat the Chiefs, and that was a primetime game, I believe.
Yes.
And since Josh Allen's game against the Chiefs, all right, that was week 6.
Okay.
His passer rating is 85.5, which is 26th in the NFL.
Yeah, that's not very good.
Turnovers since week 6, he's had 12 turnovers, not interceptions, fumbles, the most in the NFL.
Wow.
Completion percentage, 60.6. We mentioned that. In college, that was a big knock against him. He was in the 50 percentile completion percentage. He's improved a little bit. Since week 6, he's 60.6, which is 30th in the NFL. Okay. Yard per pass, 6.9 yards. That's 21st. And pass TDs, it's 15, which is tied for 9th. So he has been pedestrian since week 6. Okay, now that's passing. Now rushing, obviously his rush stats are through the roof. The key to this game is DJ Reader, that defensive line, containing that rush attack. If that happens, I think the Bengals could win pretty comfortably. I
agree. And I was going to mention that earlier about the turnover. Some of those stats I hadn't heard, but the turnover one, he has not been very secure with the football in the last 5 or 6 games. And games that I've watched, he's even in the red zone, he's not very secure with the football. So I agree. I think this Bengals defense is set up to beat teams like this, right? The bend but don't break, get them down to the red zone and try to make a play on the ball. And I'm with you, Maan. If the Bengals get 2 turnovers in this football game, this game could be a 2-score game for the Bengals. I really do believe that. But let's go ahead and pick it. Maan, the biggest game in the NFL to date for this season, who you got? Bengals, Bills.
It's going to be 8 in a row for our Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to win this game 31-21. Monday Night Football. It's going to be a little close. And then late in the third quarter, fourth quarter, the Bengals are going to pull away. And I think the rush attack is going to be consistent. It's going to be there. Burrow's going to have at least 3 touchdown passes. And our defense will get at least 2 turnovers. 31-21. God's team, the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, here we go. I'm going to say, I agree. I think this Bengals defense is going to get a couple turnovers, and I think Joe Burrow is going to shine in this game. And I'm going to say the Bengals win this game 35-24. Cincinnati Bengals win 35-24. And like you said, the biggest regular season game in Paycor history is going to be this Monday night. I cannot wait to be there. Bengal Pulse listeners, if you're around, come find me. We are going to be having a good old time celebrating this huge win in Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. Maan. And wait, before we go to, we need what we got? We got the Squealers. We need the Squealers to win. We need, who's Kansas City playing on? Denver. Oh God.
Denver. Listen, give me 2 seconds on that game. Give me 2 seconds on that game. All right. Listen, I don't want anybody to get fired. I'm sorry Nathaniel Hackett lost his job. That could help the Bengals a little bit, and I'll tell you why. That Bronco team, I know it's in Kansas City. It's a stretch. They're going to come out playing hard. Russell Wilson's probably going to play his best game of the year. And listen, it happens. Teams that their head coach gets fired,
I'm with you.
They play hard. If the Chiefs are going to lose a game, it's going to be this week because it's not going to happen. And playing in Las Vegas, I'm sorry they benched Derek Carr, which I think is a mistake. This doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think he's the problem there. But listen, the Bronco game is going to be a lot closer than people think.
I hope you're right, Mon. For one time in our history, I hope you are right. I will be very, very happy. Very, very happy if that happens. All right, guys, that is another edition of the Bengals Pulse. If you like this podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Make sure you check us out on Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify, all the other podcast platforms. Once again, if you love this podcast, please give Mon and I that 5-star review. We very much appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9 and on Instagram, the same without the @ Bengals_Pulse9. Guys, once again, check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Wincinnati Podcast Network. Mon, 8 in a row. Let's do this, baby. I cannot wait to be there, Cincinnati. It's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be a great Monday night. Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Mon. I'm Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. I'll see you guys on Monday night.
Love you all. Take care.